Hello friends and fashion lovers, welcome and welcome back. Thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Esther and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how to make this lovely ball dress. Don't forget to like and share this video, and if you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the future uploads. Thank you. To make this dress, I use satin fabric. You can use any lining of your choice. I used lace fabric. This is about half a yard, and I used 7 yards of tulle and a sequin just for decoration. You will also be needing a basic bodice pattern, and in the description box I'll be leaving a link on ready to wear measurement and also a link to how to draft a basic bodice. So please check the description box for those links. Thank you. Assuming you have your basic bodice ready, so next you're going to do is to determine where you want the tulle to be, assuming you are using a tulle for it. For a 4 to 5 year old, I decided to go with 4.5 inches, depending on how conservative or how exposed you want it to be. So at that point, at my 4.5 inch points, I am just drawing a line. For the back bodice, you could make it lower by just following the armhole line and just curving it all the way. But I want to use the same measurements I have in front. That's my 4.5 inches, just the same I have in front. I'm marking it at the back. So since my zipper or press button is not going to go all the way to the top, and I'll be adjusting my back neckline much later in this tutorial, I am just cutting out the zipper allowance for my yoke. Then I'll go ahead and indicate that that is my back yoke, so I won't get it confused with the front. Please note that the front pattern is cut on fold, while the back you will cut 2 times. And as you are cutting out your yoke from the other part of your bodice, you are going to add about 1/2 inch seaming allowance to sew it back up. Please don't forget to include seaming allowance. So right here I use my pattern to cut my fabric, and I have included my seaming allowance to join it back up. So the front is cut on fold. I have my lace, I have my sequins that I'll be putting on the front, or should I say on my pretty side later. So the back, I cut 2 pieces. I am using the same fabric as the lining. My tulle, I also have 2 pieces cut out. So here they are. So please don't forget to add seaming allowance so that your bodice won't be too short or the armhole won't be too short. So my lace is going to be in front. But before I do all that, I am going to go ahead, placing right side facing. I am going to join my bodice by the side. So I'm going to do same for my lining fabric and my fashion fabric. And I'm going to sew the neckline and the armhole of my yoke. So please don't forget, I have 2 pieces of this tulle for my yoke, so I'm going to sew the neckline and the armhole and turn them right side out. Pretty side of my garment is not plain on my bodice. I am going to place my lace fabric on it just exactly how I want it to appear on the finished garment. So I also want the sequins to appear on it, and the sequence is measured 5 inches. So I'm folding it. You could measure yours to be 3 inches and you fold it about 1/2 inch in 1.5 inch on the down part. You don't have to make it a whole 5 inches because it's 2.5 inches on the fold now. So make sure that you place your lace just as you would want it to appear on the finished garment on your lining piece. Make sure the lining piece is placed pretty side up. The right side should be up. When you're done placing your garment the way you would love it to appear on the finished product, go ahead and place the back on the front, right side facing, and stitch the side. So here I have stitched the side and I've pressed open it. My yoke is ready and this is my lining piece. So I'm going to be stitching my yoke on my bodice. So I'm just going to lift the lace up because I want the lace to kind of overlap my seam. So find the center point of your tool, which is your yoke, and also find the other center point. Now you're going to place them. If you have right side, make sure you have the right side facing. Go ahead and pin it in place. You're doing this for the center front piece and you're doing it for the back piece. Make sure you place them right side facing. Go ahead and stitch your yoke to your bodice. So for me, I ensure to mark my zipper allowance out of the way so I don't make the mistake of stitching it wrongly, because the tool is actually delicate. You don't want to stitch it wrongly and seam rip it. You want to absolutely make sure that you place them correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch. After stitching your yoke to your bodice, it's time to stitch the lining on. So move your yoke out of the way and have your main bodice or your fashion fabric right side facing your lining. Go ahead and stitch, and don't forget to stitch the armhole and the neckline. So now my tool, so I have 7 yards of tool and the length is 62 inches. Yes, normally I used to have a 57-inch tool, but this one is 62. So I'm going to make sure that it's even, and I'm going to be cutting my tool. The tool measurements will be your skirt length plus ½ inch. This ½ inch is for gathering / stitching it to the bodice allowance. You are not hemming the tool except you're planning on hemming the tool. So right here I have 18.5 inches. My lining piece is 18 inches. I am going to be I'm going to be hemming the bottom and I'm going to be gathering it at the top. So the 18 inches include the hemming and the joining to the bodice allowance. So I don't need to do extra math of subtracting anything. So just add ½ inch to your tool and also use the exact skirt length you want for your lining. You will have enough to hem it and also attach it to your bodice. So I'm going to go ahead and gather my lining and I'm going to gather my tool. I have stitched my lining. Here I'm just snipping the sides and also notching the armhole. You want to do well to notch the curve line. The next thing to do is to flip it right side out. So this is how it looks when flipped right side out. So go ahead, push the raw edge to the lining piece and understitch that in place. So this is pretty much it at this point. This is how it looks. I have done the understitching and it's lying quite flat at this point. Don't forget to give it a good press as well. So I have gathered my tulle. So my tulle, it's 3 layers of 7 yards of tulle. So I made sure that I cut my tulle in 3 places. Each layer is 7 yards in width, and I gathered it up. So this is what I have. You could use more or less. I wanted it a bit full, that's why I used this much. So I'm going to place the 3 layers and I'm going to stitch it to my bodice using 1/2 inch seaming allowance, just to the fashion part. So this is it, stitch on the bodice. This is how it looks. It's pretty full at this point. So don't forget, it's 3 layers. That's layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3. So 3 layers. So if I wanted it less full, I would use less too. I am not adding any extra lining to this garment, but I had my desired fullness. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch my lining to my dress. So make sure that you place the right side in. So I actually want the shiny side to be inside, even though it doesn't reflect much, but I actually want to place the shiny side inside while the matte side will be touching the child's skin. You could use any lining of your choice, but I found out that satin still works. So after stitching, this is how it looks. So I'm going to place it right side first, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch that shoulder, complete the shoulder seam, and also add my press buttons. I wanted to use a regular button initially, but since I also was making a mommy and me dress, so I ended up using the whole button for myself. So I used the press button, then I also roll hemmed it, and this is how the finished garments look. I added a bow to the back. I didn't use a zipper because I didn't have one at home at this point while I was making this tutorial. So I ended up using a press button. Yes, you can use a press button for your ball dress and nobody's gonna know. I want to say a very big thank you for watching to this point, and I really appreciate you. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if this was helpful, and see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.